Familiar fossils also have preserved soft tissue. Okay, by familiar fossils, he means higher up in the column, larger organisms, more vertebrate creatures like this one here. Our friend Dr. Brian Thomas has been a leading researcher on this subject for a number of years. Early on, he focused in on the familiar fossil Archaeopteryx, which means ancient wing. Archaeo means ancient, and pteryx means wing. He relates the following information. And this is actually called the Berlin Specimen. There are two famous Archaeopteryx. The first one that was discovered in 1861, 2 years after Darwin published his On the Origin of Species in 1859. It was called the London Specimen because it was donated to the London Museum. But it had no skull. It was missing its head. It had been decapitated. And so it doesn't make for a good, photo opportunity to be put in textbooks. So the one they put in textbooks is the 1876 specimen, which is the Berlin specimen. This is the Berlin fossil here. And there are 4 different views on Archaeopteryx. Some say when it first came out, it was supposedly a transitional form between reptiles and birds. It had the reptilian claws on the wings. On the reptilian claws, it had the solid bony skeleton, like a reptile, and it had a long bony tail, like a reptile. But as you can see, it had feather impressions on the arms and on the tail, which look like wings and feathered tail, right, of a bird. And so the evolutionists were like, we've found our transitional fossil. Evolution is true. There. And then you do research on that, which I did in college. I took a vertebrate paleontology class, or vertebrate physiology class, vertebrate physiology. And I asked the professor if I could do my research paper on a vertebrate fossil, because I was a geology major, not a biology major, like everybody else in the class. And he approved of that, so I picked this one, and then, much to his chagrin, I got an A on it. But he didn't like my conclusion, because after I did research on this fossil, I found out that both the London specimen and the Berlin specimen were donated to those museums by the same family, a father-son combination team who basically performed medical services for quarry workers who may have been injured on the job, moving heavy slabs of rock and those kind of things, the limestone layers that these fossils are found in. It looks as though when these fossils were examined in the 1980s, that they may be forgeries. They may be hoaxes, those two Archaeopteryx fossils, because there seems to be plaster of Paris impressions of feathers put on the arm bones and around the tail bones there. The feather impressions are asymmetrical feathers. Asymmetrical feathers are feathers of strong flying birds. The flightless birds have symmetrical feathers, which means the center support of the feather equally divides the feather into 2 equal veins. Okay? But asymmetrical feathers have a wide vein and a narrow vein. The narrow vein goes into the wind and creates the airfoil cross-section that you need to get lift. Okay? And so the question is, what are we doing with asymmetrical feathers on a creature that has a solid bony skeleton and a long bony tail, which actually creates drag? So it looks like whoever designed this creature didn't know a lot about aerodynamics, right? I don't think God's that foolish to do something like that. These were originally classified as winged reptiles or Compsognathus dinosaur, which is about crow-sized dinosaur. Well, the little tiny dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were Compsognathus. It's the same size as Archaeopteryx. So some say it's a forgery. Some say it's a transitional fossil. Some say it's true bird. Some say it's true reptile, and others say it's a mosaic form. It's like a duck-billed platypus. It's borrowed this from this creature and this from this creature, and it's kind of a composite creature. So this is a very controversial fossil you're looking at here. But Brian Thomas says this about it. The extinct Archaeopteryx is a famous icon of supposed evolutionary transition from reptiles to birds. Several different fossils have recorded the anatomy of this creature, which is fully bird, and has been found in strata above the remains of other birds. Okay? Now, this is where it gets controversial, right? There have been some true bird fossils found in rocks lower than Archaeopteryx, which in the evolutionary mind means that they're older. there. And so what are true birds doing before the transitional fossil from reptiles to birds? How can the descendant be below the ancestor, right? So that's a problem. One Archaeopteryx fossil from Sollenhofen, Germany, was the subject of a recent analysis by researchers looking for possible preserved tissue. They were not disappointed. Using state-of-the-art X-ray fluorescence scanning technology, the team found what they reportedly reported as striking preservation of some of the original bird's tissues that had been encased in limestone.